So I saw Scream 7 at the theaters yesterday. Now, I'm a big Scream fan, so I was excited for this movie. I had my concerns with the fact that you had Kevin Williams, who only directed one movie before this. He wrote Scream 1, 2, and 4. You also had the fact that this movie was rewritten, and this movie had a very messy behind the scenes production. Melissa Burnett, who was originally the new main character of Scream 5 and 6, she played one of the Carpenter sisters. She was fired, and Jenna Ortega left after that. So you lost your two new main characters of the franchise. And I love Scream 5 and 6, and I love the original trilogy. Scream 4 I thought was okay. I was excited to see the conclusion of their story. Like, what you get with Scream 7 isn't what this movie was originally going to be. And Actor Play Billy even talked about that, how the Scream 7 was going to be the end of the Carpenter sister story and what they built up in those two movies. And it sucks we're never going to get that. Despite all that, all those worries and issues with the behind the scenes drama that happened with this movie, I went with a completely open mind. I was like, okay, let's see what they do with the idea of bringing Cindy back. I thought this movie was utter crap. This is the first Scream movie I walked out of going, that was a bad movie. This is by far the worst Scream movie in the franchise and the only one I would not go back and rewatch again. Like, I just did not like this movie. Let me start with the positives with this movie. I think Dave Campbell is still great as the character of Cindy. I love her character. She's one of my favorite main final girls in the franchise. Courtney Cox, who plays Gail Weathers, I still think she's great as a character. I still love her character. And I like the opening kill in this movie. Like, the Scream franchise always does a good job when it comes to opening kills. The rest of the kills I think are okay in the movie. And there's some decent moments between Cindy and the actress who's playing the character's daughter. That's it. When it like, there's a lot of problems I have with this movie when it comes to the negatives for this movie. There's a lot of issues with this movie that I just really made me not like this movie. So let me get into all the problems I have with this movie. The first thing is the tone. I was not a fan of the tone of this movie. The tone just feels off in this movie. And this movie felt so over the top to me in a bad way. Like, it felt like the logic in this movie, you had to suspend your disbelief so much, and it got so ridiculous in this movie, and the tone just felt so like can't like too campy, too over the top. It just didn't work for me. The tone in this movie it just felt completely off. And I don't mind if you have to suspend your disbelief a little in the movie. This movie does it so much with its logic, where it just gets so ridiculous that I just was not a fan of the tone of the movie. It just got way too over the top for me in this one. It got too silly for me in this one. I just didn't. I was not a fan of the tone. It just felt really off in this movie. Another thing, even though I like the opening kill in this movie, was I thought was a great opening scene when it comes to a good kill in a slasher movie. They don't. That doesn't really lead to anything. Which is even though I like the opening kill, it doesn't. It's not like they don't go back to that. So that even though I like the opening kill, it doesn't really lead to anything. I didn't care. I didn't give a crap about these new characters. The actress who plays Cindy's daughter, she's fine in the movie. Even with her though, I didn't feel any investment in her character. And her friends are even worse, where they have zero personality to these characters. And I know, like horror fans go like, it's a slasher movie. You don't need in-depth characters. I disagree with that. And look, I will say this: I don't think you need to have your characters. I don't think you need to have the most in-depth, complicated characters. I'm not saying that. At least give these characters some personality, though. They literally feel like stock fodder in this. They just these kid. I've never seen a screen movie where the new characters feel like they're just there to be killed. There is nothing to these characters. Like her friends in this movie, even the girl who plays Cindy's daughter, they're the bland, boring, uninteresting characters. I didn't give a crap about any of them in this movie. So this to me has the most new characters in a Scream movie, in my opinion, personally. Where I just didn't care about anybody who died in this movie. Another negative thing with this movie for me is that even though it's great to see Nev coming back and Sydney, there was nothing interesting to do for a character. And she also does. I feel like her and Gail, those two characters at times don't act like their characters should be acting. It's just the characters felt a little off along with the tone. Like for me personally, those times I was like, I don't feel like that's how Sydney would act and how Gail would act. So even though like there was no characters felt a little off to me how they were acting at times. And I just think overall coming out of this movie, I feel like they bled her dry to Sydney character. Like there's nothing interesting to do with her in this movie. And the idea of her and her daughter being like, I guess her daughter would be the main character of the franchise going forward. Zero interest and excitement for that idea. I would have preferred if we got what originally Scream 7 was going to be with the Carpenter sister characters and to see the conclusion of that story. Because I feel like with Scream 5 and 6, they were actually doing new stuff. He got me invested in those new characters. Also, this movie, you can feel it was rewritten. There's times in this movie characters just pop up and disappear for huge chunks of the movie. Also, the plot of this movie is a gigantic mess, in my opinion. It's poorly written. The dialogue is so bad in this movie. There's a lot of times with the dialogue in this movie, I was just like, "Oh my god, the dialogue is just this the dialogue is just terrible in this movie. There's so much cringe dialogue in this movie. I was just like, I just think this is one of those movies where the dialogue was poor. And the idea of just like I said, characters just pop up, disappear. I am gonna get into some spoilers with the plot in this movie. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, stop the video now. An example of this is later on in the movie, Gail gets an interview with Cindy finally. Cindy gets angry because Gail answers some tough questions, and they reference Dewey in the scene when they go off camera when Cindy's all pissed off at Gail for asking her some tough questions. And after this scene, goes into the third act of the movie, the Gail Weathers character just disappears. Like she's not part of the third act accent at the end of the movie, which I thought was weird. So, and even like other characters, like the actress from Pitch Perfect, Anne Camp, who's a new character in the movie, she disappears for huge chunks of the movie, and these characters just pop up, disappear. The two characters from Scream 5 and 6, who part of the Core 4 group that they've been back, the characters, Vinny and Chad, who are brother and sister, Trim brother and sister, their characters get injured. You don't see them during the act in the third act, and these characters would just like pop, and they pop back up like towards the end. Same with like at the very end. Same with Gale. These characters would just pop up and then like disappear for chunks of the movie. So this movie feels rewritten to me. This feels like a mess of a movie. Like I can tell this was a movie that was rewritten and had behind the scene issues, and you can just feel it in this movie with the plot. And this movie does nothing new with the Scream franchise. I love the Cindy character. I'm like, it feels like we took a step backwards. Like Scream 5 and 6 was heading in a really great, new, interesting, fresh direction with new characters I actually cared about and wanted to see the end of their story. Instead, it feels like with this movie, we went backwards. And we're doing the same thing over again with a Scream movie. And I'm tired of it. And this made this is one of the movies where I came out going like I am not excited or interested in the direction this franchise is going after this movie. So this movie does nothing new with the Scream franchise. When it comes to the meta element in this movie, which I know Scream System have a big meta element, and look, I love the meta element in the Scream movies. I think the original trilogy did a great job with the meta element. I thought Scream 5 did a great job with it. I thought Scream 4 did a decent job with the meta element. Scream Six didn't really have much of a meta element, and I don't mind that if you have characters that I actually care about. You have some kills, you got a story that I actually feel invested in. The thing though is that when the meta element isn't to me done well in this movie and everything else isn't very good, then the meta element sticks out. And the meta element in this movie, you don't really get a big meta when it comes to that element of the story in this movie. When it comes to this movie being meta, like the whole meta thing in this movie is the that they hopping back on a million times is that Sydney wasn't in Scream Six because they referenced the events of Scream Six in this movie. How Sydney wasn't should have been there. She when she's talking to Gail, and I'm referencing what happened in New York and Scream Six, and that's the only meta element you have in this movie. And I feel like they don't really do anything all that interesting with it. And also, I feel like it's just there to pop up the Sydney character. Which again, I love the Sydney character. It just got very repetitive when it feels like they just kept going back to the weapons and events of Scream Six just to pop up her character and show how much of a badass she is. I already know she's a badass. So the meta element didn't work for me at all. I feel like this movie had the most meta element, and it wasn't in the movie that much. And like I said, this is I think the script's just bad. It's bad dialogue. It's a mess, and also the whole AI angle in this, bringing these characters back, I thought was done horrible in this. I didn't care for the AI stuff in this. It wasn't to me. They didn't do anything interesting with that idea. The actors they've been back, I think, are wasted too. Matthew Lillard was, he was confirming to come back as Stu, which I know a lot of fans want to see his character back. He's an AI. He's basically AI in this. Same with the other killers, like you see the Ghostface killer from Scream 3 as an AI. You see Billy's mom from Scream 2 as an AI. And you see Dewey as an AI, and they do nothing interesting with that idea in this movie for me. I think they all wasted those actors. And Matthew Liu, who I love, his character was a little too over the top for me. Like I will say I can tell he's having fun. His character felt a little too over the top for me in this movie though, compared to the first movie personally. And they just don't do anything interesting with that angle in this movie with the AI. And I also there's just a lot of just like logic stuff with that whole idea of using AI in this movie that I had questions about that I feel like they don't answer, and it's just the way it's done in this movie is done poorly. It's not done like I said, they don't do anything compelling or interesting. So I feel like they're all kind of wasted in this movie. Like you don't see like you see the AI of the Ghostface killer Scream 3, Billy's mom, and Dewey at the end of the movie when you see their AIs, and they're in like they're in basically one scene of the movie. So I feel like you wasted these actors. And the AI element, like I said, it just didn't do anything interesting with it. The worst thing about this movie though is the kill reveals. There's three kills in this movie. And to me personally, this movie has the worst killers and the kill reveals in a Scream movie. The kill reveals in this movie are done horrible, and who they are in this movie is this movie has like dumbest killer motivation in a Scream movie, and it's one example is with the bad dialogue when this person explains the motivation, and also the kill reveals in this movie are just like really, that's what you came up with in this movie, which is where I'm gonna end the spoilers. Like I always kind of spoils the fact that I said that Billy's mom has a cameo in this one of the killers from Scream 2. This is where I'm getting into the big spoilers though. So it's revealed at the end of this movie, Ann Camp's character the actress from Pitch Perfect, Ann Camp, which I think is I believe is her name, yeah, Ann Camp. It's revealed that Sydney's new neighbor is the killer. And I've never watched a Scream movie before why I predicted the killer right away, right when she was introduced. She also disappears for a huge chunk of the movie, and she has a son who's creepy, who's a fan of Sydney. I'm like, it was so obvious that she was one of the killers in the movie. It was very obvious, and it's just I've never like I know some people who didn't like the killers in Scream Six, and I can totally understand that. Like I get though that's the one complaint about Scream Six is that fans weren't a fan of like who the killers were, and it was very obvious in that movie. In this one though, in this one was the first time though where I was like right away I knew who one of the killers were. And the other two killers in this movie has three killers like the last one. The other two killers is one of the killers is this character you see for a scene at Cindy's coffee shop at the beginning, who just gives her like a creepy stare, has no dialogue. This character, and he's only in one scene of the movie at the beginning. And I'm like, really, really, this is random and dumb. And then the one of the other three killers is a guy who works at the mental place that they seem to say that Stu was at. I don't know if that was I don't know if the movie has to if that was like actually true whether Stu really stay there. The work at this place though, when Sidney and Gale goes to this place when they're seeing if investigating if Stu maybe came back or if he really died in the original movie, the work at the place is revealed that he's one of the killers. And I was like, this is so random and just dumb. And Andy Cap's motivation for being the main killer out of the three killers is so stupid to me. And I know, like, you can go to past three movies and say some of the motivations for these killers are like, a little ridiculous. In this movie though, it was just stupid. It was dumb. It was the dumbest motivation for a killer I've seen in this movie that I don't even get. Like Anna Kemp does the whole like the whole thing down when she explains the motivation, and it's something to do with like how the fact that Cindy isn't like how she was when she was younger because she's a fan of the original Cindy, and it was so stupid to me. And it's an example of some of the bad dialogue in this movie. So it's this movie has the most killers in a Scream movie. It has the most killer reviews. The plot is terrible in this movie. I didn't give a crap about any of the new characters. They had no personality to them whatsoever. Again, I don't need you to have characters. I don't need the characters to have them. I don't need you to have the most in-depth characters in a movie. At least give them some personality, They were bland and just bland and uninterested in this movie. So I didn't give a crap about anybody who died in this movie. I think you bled the Cindy character dry in this movie. The Gale character feels pointless in this movie. Gale Weathers. I love the character. It just feels like she is pointless in this movie when it comes to giving anything really interesting to do with her character. Also, the two characters, Minnie and Chad, who I really love the characters in Scream 5 and 6, I feel like they're pointless in this movie too. I feel like this is one of the examples of why I can tell this movie feels rewritten. Is because their characters feel like they're there because they were part of the original idea for Scream 7, and they decided we'll just keep them in there. And I also find it just weird they don't reference the Carpenter sisters with Chad and Minnie, because they make a big deal in the Scream 5 sisters really them becoming really great friends and being caught like calling them the core four, and they don't the fact that these characters don't reference the Carpenter sisters is just weird to me. Which is a like I said, it feels like these two characters were just there because they were part of the original script. They don't give them anything interesting to do in this movie. So I feel like their characters were wasted in this movie. And Nev Campbell's character's husband, whose name is Mark, was I still think it's weird that we get the name of the actor. Sydney's husband, whose character's name Mark Evans, a police officer. I didn't care for his character either. He's just like you don't know anything about his character in this movie other than he's a police officer. He's Sydney's husband. That's about it. I also still think it's weird that I know his last character is like he has a different last name than the detective character from Scream 3. I still think it's weird that they call him Mark. Like he has the same first name as the first name of the character of Scream 3. This is a nitpick. It's just one of those things where I think well I'm just like that's weird. Why don't you just I don't understand why they just bring back the actor who played the detective character in Scream 3 where they were kind of hitting at a romance going between him and Cindy. I feel like that you could just bring back his character because the new character who has a different last name but has the same name Mark when it comes to the first name. I feel like his character didn't add anything to this movie, and you just don't get to know this character in this movie along with the other new characters. So overall, I just think this is a bad movie. The tone I thought was awful. The writing was crap. Bad dialogue, characters I don't care about. Just having to suspend your disbelief with the logic too much in this movie. They don't do anything interesting with the AI element. Even the original characters don't act, I feel like, at times how I think they should act. These original characters, where they feel off. Characters wasted in this movie, characters disappearing, which shows how messy the plot is in this movie. And just this movie does nothing new with the Scream franchise. And this movie made me zero, like, just, I have zero interest, zero excitement for a new Scream movie. And the thing that sucks is that I think they're gonna do a Scream 8, because this movie I believe had the biggest opening for a Scream movie. And look, I'm happy for this movie doing well. For me though, I coming out of this movie, I'm just like, I can't believe I just don't have any interest in another Scream movie if they're gonna go in this direction. Like I would definitely prefer what originally Scream 7 was going to be with the Carpenter sisters story and concluding their story than what we got with this movie. And look, this, like I said, this movie's gonna make money. I think it's made in a 90 area. It's made in a 90 on a 45 budget, and it's had the biggest opening for a Scream movie. So this movie's gonna make enough money to do a Scream 8. I just It's the first time where I just don't have any interest in a new Scream movie after yeah, after watching this, which sucks to hear for me as a fan, because I thought this was one of the most consistent horror franchises before Scream 7, and I walked out as just for the first time going like, I just dislike a Scream movie. You know, I hope I hope you, if you go and see this movie, I hope you enjoy or love the movie. Fans that are watching this, I'm happy for the fans that enjoy or love this movie. And I'm happy this movie's doing well, even if I don't like the movie. I just was To me, this was the first disappointing movie of the year, and like definitely the biggest disappointing movie of the year so far. So that's my thoughts on Scream 7. Until next time, movie fans.